I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Don't you hate it when this happens? Yeah, the Retro Hunting Adventure starts now.
Yo, this is MegaRan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
So, as always, the winter months lead themselves to getting more things by mail since it's not always great to go out when it's this cold outside and the roads are bad. Snow's everywhere. But packages still come, like Hydro Thunder, one of the few remaining Nintendo 64 games that I still needed for my collection. It's a little rough looking, not the most perfect on all sides, but the front label was at least nice looking, so I know this one will have a perfect label though because it comes direct from Las Vegas and it's brand new, never been used before, starting with this Yuki magnet that kind of gives it away, and also a seasonal holiday sticker. No magnet that time, but then of course there's the game itself. And I chose the Dreamcast version, and Saramaru was kind enough to go ahead and autograph it for me during one of his live streams. So if you're not checking out Saramaru's channel on Friday and Saturday nights, you definitely should. Sarumaru. He also does some random live streams here and there, but on Fridays he does PC Engine games, and on Saturday nights he does video game show and tell. Him and Jesse always put together an excellent show, so you should be sure to check out their live stream, just like I will be checking out this game. But that's not all that I picked up. We've also got Rampage 2 Universal Tour. That came in the mail yesterday, and I already opened it, along with this Game Gear game, Sonic Drift 2. Since Saramaru picked me up Sonic Drift while he was in Japan, I thought I should get the sequel that came out in North America. So now I have both games, which means I'll also be testing these two N64 games, the Dreamcast game, and of course the Game Gear game, all in this video. Now, unfortunately for me, Hydro Thunder was not being the most cooperative. Not surprising given it looked like it had been used quite a bit, so I had to break out the old Q-tips and rubbing alcohol, which is my preferred method for cleaning. I know some people like to disassemble and douse everything. I know some people like to use those one-up cards. Me, I find that Q-tips and rubbing alcohol gets the job done, and the alcohol evaporates, so you don't have to worry about leaving any residue, which is why you should never blow into cartridges or spit on them, because you're going to leave saliva and stuff in your mouth and other corrosive material all over the contacts, and it might temporarily bridge that connection, but in the long term, you're actually doing more damage than good. So if you're trying to get a cartridge to work, please don't blow on it. Just think of it this way. Would you do that to a CD? No. So don't do it to a cartridge either. Simplest logic I can explain it by. After a thorough scrubbing, I finally got Hydro Thunder to cooperate. It's asking me if I want to put in a memory pack for controller 1. I really don't, because I just want to test the game. Happily, it detects the expansion pack, and happily the camera will also focus on the Midway logo. Thank you very much, Mr. Camera. And now we can take a look at Hydro Thunder. Why does this sound like a game that Hulk Hogan would have played in the 1990s on TNT? Hydro Thunder in paradise. What you gonna do, brother, when Hydro Thunder runs wild on you? Let's get ready to race the Lost Island. You've got to finish easy in the top 3, and if a rumble pack is to be used, insert it now. But again, that's not something I'm going to do just for the purposes of testing. Okay, so we've got a racing game with ramps and targets all taking place in the water, and boats that are trying to bump me out of the way, and rainbows that are coming down across the waterfalls. It's a double rainbow, man. What does it mean? It means my time was extended and I get to go further in the game. So it's pretty much a typical racing game like any other racing game you would play on the Nintendo 64. The graphics are okay. The controls are okay. The racing is okay. It's not a bad game. It's definitely playable, but it's not anything to write home about either. So I think I can see why I didn't bother to get this one until I was down to like 5 or 10 games left to go. So let's try out Rampage 2. Come on, camera. There we go. Let's try out Rampage 2 because I think that'll be a little more up my alley since it's based on a classic arcade game and it's a sequel to another conversion of an arcade game. So I guess, how would you define that? I would say it's not the arcade game, but it's spiritual successor to the arcade game. That's a good way to describe it. So here we have it. Rampage 2. Start game, save game, passwords. I'm just happy I didn't have to scrub the heck out of this one. Although honestly, when you see the top label on this copy of Rampage 2, you would think this would have been the one that I would have had to spend more time cleaning. But we do have a working game here. My gigantic, oversized mutant mouse is destroying this building every which way but loose, punching out all the windows. I think I get zapped. Yep, zapped by a television there, but I picked up more time and I destroyed the building, and I'm convinced the game is tested and working. So we can pop this one out and I'll show you the top label here. Somebody just took a piece of masking tape and wrote the name of the game on there, probably because they had a big collection of N64 games and they wanted to read the end labels since there are no end labels. But then it leaves this residue all over it when I try to pull it off. And unless I get out the Goo Gone and douse this thing, I'm not getting it clean because I tried to just pull it off. Nothing doing it, just ripped at the ends and left the rest of it in the middle. Well, at least for now, it makes it easy to identify in the box if I'm looking through my collection. So maybe I'll just leave it that way. But I like when people are actually going to put end labels on them when they use those die-cut, professionally made end labels. Then at least it looks a little better. Even though I still don't believe in end labeling my N64 cartridges, I'd rather just alphabetize them, put them in storage containers, and then I just know by going alphabetically where they are in correct order. But maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe end labels are a better way, but whatever works for you. It's not for me to judge. It's just for me to say, hey, I like collecting games. I like playing games. So let's play Sonic Drift 2 and make sure that works. All right, we have my Fix-It-Phil special here. He cleaned up my Game Gear, put new caps in, helped me put a new clean screen on there, an actual glass screen instead of the plastic one that was on there before. But when you have a glass screen replacing your original Game Gear screen, you gotta be very careful picking it up because if you grip the screen with your thumb, you could crack it. And that's undoubtedly why they used plastic before, but the plastic just gets scuffed up and very hard to see anything very quickly, whereas the glass you can just wipe clean. So even though you gotta be more careful, it's definitely more playable this way. And it sounds and looks a whole lot better with all those caps replaced too. So again, Phil, you did a wonderful job. And this confirms that Sonic Drift 2 is in fact working. So we've got one thing left now, and that's FX Unit Yuki. The boot up sequence on this one took so long, I was starting to panic and think maybe I had an incompatible model of the Dreamcast that wasn't going to be able to read a homebrew game, but then I thought about it some more and I went, no, that can't be the case because I've got tons of other Dreamcast homebrew games and they all work. So this is indeed working. It just took a long time to get through the loading screens. But as you can see, FX Unit Yuki is in full effect here. Now, there are plenty of demonstrations of this game on YouTube. I will probably do a full stream of it later on, a long-term playthrough. But I want to give you the very basics here as I test it out. This game is available at fxunityuki.com, and Saramaru did all of the artwork for it, and he is one of the leads behind the game. He also put up the Kickstarter campaign, which I was a backer for a little while, and then unfortunately had to withdraw, but I was still glad to support him later on by buying a physical copy of the game after the Kickstarter was successful. It was originally made for PC Engine / TurboGrafx, but it keeps getting ported to more and different things. There's the Dreamcast version, which of course I'm playing now, and I believe a Sega Genesis prototype version exists. Don't know if it will ever be released in a physical format, but it has been converted to that, and I know that a PC version is in the works. One of the regulars from Saramaro's channel is the one working on that. I believe his name is David Rover, and it's a platforming game, side-scrolling, with parallax scrolling, as you can see, and your protagonist has been taken out of the real world into the world of video games, and she is a gamer herself, so she's loving it, but at the same time, it's a whole new world. And don't start singing that song, please. I'm not going to, you don't either. So yes, FX Unit Yuki is definitely a game for fans of late 80s, early 90s, vintage side-scrolling PC Engine 16-bit type games. And I think you should check it out. But for now, Mr. MegaManFan saying bye-bye.